Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to welcome you today. My name is Joanna Antczak and I'm representing the Data Geoprocessing Unit in the Department of Strategy and Analysis. So now, with my colleague, we will be talking about identifying white spots for the Digital Poland operational program. From my part, you will get to know a bit about the Digital Poland operational program and in particular Axis 1 of the program, as well as about the preparation of data for the process of designation areas for each competitions are the operational program.
My name is Paweł Milewski and I'm also representing the Data Geoprocessing Unit in Department of Strategy and Analysis. From my part of presentation, you can find out how we point out the areas that can receive public funding and what activities have been carried out so far in this area.
The operational program Digital Poland for 2014 to 2020 was prepared on the basis of regulation of the European Parliament and the Council of 17 December 2013. The aim of the Digital Poland program is to strengthen digital foundation for national development. Operational program Digital Poland aims at increasing the availability of the high-speed internet, establishing citizen-friendly e-administration which will make it possible to resolve various issues via computer and continuously raise the level of digital competences in society. As you can see, 4 priority areas were distinguished in the program. First one, common access to high-speed internet. And the goal, it is planned that every Pole should have access to the internet of capacity at least 30 megabits per second. Second one, e-government and open government. The goal, it is planned that every Pole should have access to modern e-services and open public sector information. Third one, digital competences of society. The goal, it is planned that every Pole should have at least basic digital skills. And the last one, technical assistance. The Axis will provide support for institutions involved in management and implementation. The allocation of funds to the individual priorities is as follows. Most funds are allocated to the first axis, called Common Access to High-Speed Internet. It is more than €1 billion. For the second axis, e-government and open government, there is almost €1 billion. €145 million is allocated for digital competences and society. And for technical assistance is allocated almost €60 million. During the presentation, we will focus on the first axis called Common Access to High-Speed Internet. And the aim of the first axis is to eliminate territorial differences in terms of access to high-speed broadband internet. The main priorities for Axis 1 are boosting investment in modern network infrastructure, eliminating investment barriers, efficient use of existing telecommunication and non-telecommunication infrastructure, promoting investment in broadband network at the local level. And the effects of achieving the objectives of the first axis will be investments in high-speed broadband internet with capacity of at least 30 megabits per second in case of households or at least 100 megabits per second in case of schools. And in areas where it's not possible to provide broadband internet access, over 2 million people, mainly living in rural areas and in small towns, will have high-speed internet access. There are 2 main territorial aspects to the implementation of the projects. First one, the contest aspect. Project will be implemented in areas where the construction of NGA networks is unprofitable. And the second, the non-contest aspect. Creating a dedicated network for public schools will be implemented in the area of the whole Poland. In order to correctly indicate the areas where the implementation of the investment is unprofitable, we implement a process similar to investment planning. Infrastructure planning is, in our approach, a complex process which is divided into three main parts. It is impossible to plan investment without knowledge about existing infrastructure. So firstly, we will give you an overview of the inventory of telecommunications services and infrastructure conducted by our office. Then, we will tell you about investments, consultation with operators. The third and main stage in the process is analysis, which gives us information for investment planning. As you can see in detail view, the process consists of more stages. The first one is preparation of the address database. Operators supply data about services at address level, so it's extremely important to provide them with a reference address database, which will be used during inventory. It sounds easy, but it's not. In Poland, there is no one database which contains all necessary information. For that reason, UKE decided to combine a few sources. The first and most important is PRG. It's National Register of Borders, managed by President of the Head Office of Geodesy and Cartography. We use geocoordinates from this database. The second one is NOBC, System for Address Identification of Streets, Real Estates, Buildings and Dwellings, managed by the President of Statistic Poland. This database gives us information about buildings and households. Sometimes we also use OpenStreetMap to get missing geocoordinates from this source. With address database, we are ready for the inventory. Each year, inventory of telecommunication infrastructure and services begins on 3rd January and ends on 31st March. The chart shows the amount of data collected during the inventory in this year. There is a visible increase in the number of submitted elements. It's that the effect of telecommunications market development and of the effectiveness of investments supported from public funds. The most important elements for infrastructure planning are network endpoint and services. But during inventory, we also collect information about nodes, lines, cable connections, etc. For now, we are collecting information about telecommunications lines in a simplified form. These are relationships between nodes, not actually network routes. Before I tell you about marking white spots, I will mention why we decided to identify white spots at the building level. Because we have this data. And we also think that it's necessary. As you know, the devil is in the detail. So, let's look at Poland at the level of provinces and the availability of network with bandwidth above 30 megabits per second. The Mazovian voivodeship is not homogeneous, and the high-speed internet is only highly available in the areas of urban development. Powiat near Warsaw, due to the nature of their development, compare much better than distant powiats. Let's see one such powiat. In Piaseczno Powiat, the availability of the internet is on an average level, although there seems to be high availability of high-speed internet in all urban areas. For a few selected districts, we present the situation at the level of address points. The white color represents address points where services at the level of at least 30 megabits per second are not available, and briefly we can say that they are white spots. You could see that if we stayed at the commune level, the addresses marked in white would not receive funding because in the whole commune the availability of services of the level of 30 megabits per second was about 60%. So, we are ready to identify white spots. What are white spots? These are address points where it's not possible to provide internet access services with a minimum capacity of 30 megabits per second. As we see, addresses are marked with the speed status from the inventory. From the address list, we are excluding black spots with NGA 30 and NGA 100 megabits per second. Without this group of addresses, the list of white spots is ready for public consultations. The Polish Ministry of Digital Affairs is opening a public consultation on white spots areas for NGA coverage of the operational program Digital Poland. The consultation lasts 1 month in order to collect information about operators' investment plans for the next 3 years. The purpose of the public consultation is to enable entrepreneurs to submit private investment plans. Addresses planned to be covered by approved investment plans are removed for the white spot list. In a dedicated system, telecommunication operators submit addresses planned to connect. They can fill in a form. The provided data should also contain information about total value of investment, access technology, and investment schedule. Moreover, to confirm investment, telecommunication operators should deliver at least 2 documents. First one describing the financial condition of the company, and the second one investment plan. They could also import data from XML or CSV. After public consultation, the Ministry of Digital Affairs verifies the investment plans and decides which are doable. As we see, addresses are marked as investment plan, and in the next step they are excluded from the white spots database.
The last step in the preparation of the list of white spots for the purpose of determining areas of public intervention is the analysis of grids. Sometimes, during inventory, telecoms entrepreneurs don't submit information about single addresses, as you can see on the map, between 2 NGA addresses in the left down corner. In our approach, it's inappropriate to co-finance addresses where public intervention is unnecessary. For such as cases, we make grid analysis. Poland is divided into grids of 250 meters resolution. Black spots in each grid are counted, and if grid contain more than 5% black spots, then all of the addresses covered by grid are excluded. Now, we can prepare the final list of white spots. This is a good time to summarize all of the exclusions. We talk about excluding NGA addresses, planned investments and addresses from previous competitions, and addresses excluded by grid analysis. After complex preparation, we are ready for main part of infrastructure planning. First part of it is calculation of costs of investments based on network routing. Network analysis remained an inverted tree. Address points are like leaves, which are grouped into branches. Network analysis needs a route layer to connect these branches to the roots. The application we use has functionality of automatic nodes planning. Of course, final results of network routing depends on application parameters. To make network analysis, we need route layer and the layer of counties. One of the most important parameters that affects the routing result is the radius. The application creates groups of address points within a radius determined by user. The second important parameter is the minimum number of households required to be connected. To make network analysis, the application requires also information about existing nodes. Estimated network construction costs are influenced by many factors. For example, share of particular access technologies, fees for route use in particular areas, length of routed network, or possibility of network sharing. The second aspect is demand estimation. We take into account factors affecting the amount of revenue possible to obtain, type of services sold in considered area, and prices, including service packages. We have dedicated application based on PostgreSQL. This application makes simultaneously 2 types of analysis. First one, which calculates cost of investments, and the second one, which calculates potential incomes. Application algorithm use source data, such a number of households, type of provided services, population age or gender, to assess potential service demand and assess potential incomes. As the result, we get net present value, NPV. We are calculating NPV after 15 years with 8% discount rate. NPV reveal exactly how profitable a project will be. Only areas with negative NPV will be co-financed from public funds. The software finds the most optimized network and calculates total cost, CAPEX and OPEX. To calculate the length of fiber, number of cabinets, etc., the application uses unit costs. To estimate the potential revenue, the application estimates the demand for services. Estimation of costs and revenues allows to indicate areas of public intervention. This is the example of district delimitation from the second call for projects. We have divided the country into 79 districts, and each district had its separate tender with customized amount of EU co-financing. The table shows the list of districts in Poland prepared for second call. The next slide will show the results of our activity. The operational program Digital Poland involves 4 tenders under competitive procedure, the smallest in 2015 and 3 more for large areas of the country. The investment will result in more than 2 million connected households and several thousand connected public institutions.